Katherine McBanoa is a former club bottle girl from South Florida, but now she's spending the rest of her life in prison. That's because she was convicted of helping to coordinate the murder of a law professor in Tallahassee, Dan Markel. Also convicted, the father of her children, Sigfredo Garcia, and his friend, Latin King gang member Luis Rivera. All three are locked up in prison for their roles in this murder-for-hire plot. So, why would a bottle girl from South Florida want to arrange the murder of a law professor who lived more than 400 miles away from her in Tallahassee? Prosecutors say it's because of her boyfriend, a man named Charlie Adelson. Charlie's sister, Wendy, was going through a bitter custody battle with Dan and wanted her children to move to South Florida, closer to Wendys family. And prosecutors say Charlie convinced Katherine to get her ex, Sigfredo, to murder Dan. Charlie is now getting ready for his trial, which is set to begin next week. And on the state's witness list, his mother, Donna, his father, Harvey, his sister, Wendy, and yes, his former girlfriend, Katherine. Tonight, we speak with Dan's mother, Ruth, as she prepares for the trial of her son's alleged killer, and take a look and listen to some of the key recordings that prosecutors say link Charlie to the plot. All this as we continue our investigation of the murder of law professor and loving father, Dan Markel. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. This is a big story. It's taken a long time to get to where we are, but we are very close to that trial. And I want to begin speaking about the victim, Dan Markel. We refer to him as an FSU law professor. Very impressive, right? Super smart guy. But my guess is he would want us to refer to him as a loving father. And that's probably the most important part of this whole story, because it's really about what was happening in his personal life and what was happening in his relationship with his children, who were so important to him. He was getting divorced, or was divorced, separated, done with his marriage with his wife, Wendy. And they were in a custody battle. And we've seen this play out many, many times. Many, many times. Some of you may have gone through all this as well. And yeah, sometimes feelings are hurt, and it's tough, it's personal, it's brutal, but oftentimes people can figure it out. Because at the end of the day, it's always what is in the best interest of the children. And if you have two parents that care for the children, then both parents should absolutely be in the lives of those children. And if both can share custody and spend all that time, then both should. And at the end of the day, whether you want to live somewhere else, be here, be there, for the children, you need to be wherever they can be loved by both their parents. And that was the problem here, because Wendy Adelson wanted to live in South Florida, where the rest of her family is. Dan was a professor at Florida State University. That's in Tallahassee. They're both in the same state, but wow, are they far away? It's not like you can drop them off on a Tuesday, pick, you know what I mean? No, it's like being in completely different states, even though you are in the same state. Now, the murder of Dan Markel, it was a hit. There's no doubt, it was a hit. This wasn't road rage. This wasn't some, crime of opportunity. The killers had to drive all the way from South Florida to Tallahassee. It's like 400 miles. This isn't a random act, not at all. And I think it was clear from the beginning for prosecutors. They argued in the trials that have taken place already for some of the people involved in all of this that it was a murder for hire. But in a murder for hire case, there's different levels of people's
what responsibilities and what they did, right? You've got the people who are actually going to pull the trigger and commit the murder. You've got someone in the middle who's kind of putting everyone together. And then you've got the person who's ordering it. From my perspective, if you're going to punish them differently, the person who should be punished the most is the one who ordered the hit. You know, I used to practice in New Jersey, and years ago, New Jersey had the death penalty, and there had to be aggravating factors. And in a murder for hire plot, that was an aggravating factor. If you ordered the murder of someone else or paid someone else to murder someone else, that was enough to qualify you as the worst of the worst to be eligible for the death penalty. And that's the way I see it. So the question in this case is, who ordered it? We know it's a murder for hire. There's, you know, the two men who went up there knew nothing about Dan Markel, had no interaction with him at all. They were going up there to do a job. So who ordered the hit? Prosecutors are saying in this trial, it was Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother. Now, there's no statute of limitations on murder cases. So if they develop evidence that more than one person is involved in ordering all this hit, other people could be charged. But right now, no one is. Wendy's not charged. Don is not charged. Harvey's not charged. It is Charlie, the one who had a girlfriend, who has a man she had a relationship with, who she had children with, who was friends with the Latin King gang member. And it was the father of her children and the gang member who got in the car and went up and took out Dan Markel. But now we get to what I think is the most important case, which is the trial of Charlie Adelson, set to begin on Monday. There's a hearing on Friday, and the jury selection is supposed to start on Monday. So let's bring in our special guest. Joining me tonight in Toronto, Ontario, Dan Markel's mother, Ruth, is back with us, and thank goodness this time we get to see her as well. Ruth, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate you continuing focusing on Dan's murder and following the details and helping everybody bridge this very, very complicated case.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've been crying, you know, screaming about, not crying, but screaming out loud during those first two trials, like prosecutors saying it was a murder for hire. Please, can we bring into court and charge the person who ordered all of this? And that's where we are now. So from your perspective, how are you preparing now for what is scheduled right now to begin on Monday?
It's for us, for the family, it's a very, very difficult time. We're tense, we're worried, and you know, we have to wait until the deliberations and all of the drama before. So this was a very difficult period leading up to this trial because it's a new judge, and we had now a few times to meet the judge on, you know, some of the hearings, which is very helpful to us because we like him and we certainly approve of his motions, what he's including. So in yesterday, he approved the court, all of the wiretapping, and the other day there was a hearing as well, and some of the information for the Dolce Vita restaurant, of which Charlie Adelson was in conversation with Katherine Bowman. And that particular episode of the wiretapping is also included. So we feel now, you know, we were so tense and we're like on a roller coaster. I use all these examples of a playground, but at least we're kind of coming down a little bit to hopefully some stability in, you know, going forward to the trial next week. We will be there for the whole trial. And it's a hard thing. It's really hard.
So many victims, they go through one trial and that's it. And then they're able to turn the page, you know, and move on in a certain respect. For you, this is the third trial now. This is going to be the third time. Where does this strength come from for you to be able to get down there and be inside that courtroom day after day?
This is really a very, very difficult challenge. First of all, it's 9 years, and we waited 2 years really with no arrests. But now, at least, okay, there has been a lot of hearings. There's been a lot of appeals. It's not only what we experience at the trial; it's what you don't see. You know, for each of the cases, there's a discussion of whether there should be bond hearings, whether there should be appeals, whether there should be who are the witnesses, and so there's a lot of extra stuff besides just getting ready to sit in court and watch it. So I would say the length of this case, especially it's the third trial, is really a very hard circumstance for us all.
So let's go back in time now. When Dan met Wendy and these two first came together, from your perspective, what were those moments like, and what was that time like, and what did Dan say, and what was your feeling for this woman that he had met?
Well, Dan graduated from Harvard Law School, and then he went to clerk, and then he went to Washington. So he was always interested in either working in Washington or becoming an academic. And while he was in Washington, a young woman, her name is Wendy Adelson, and she is 7 years younger than Dan, and she wanted to come to Washington and intern. So she did get an internship, and she also found a job, and she found a place to live. And the next thing was to meet somebody. So Wendy Adelson and her mother, Donna Adelson, went on J-Date, that's the Jewish dating service, and they selected Dan Markel, who was in Washington and highly regarded, as a choice for her to date. So they met in the circumstances of her coming to Washington to become an intern, and they later fell in love, and they got married in 2006, and they had 2 children, one in 2009 and one in 2010. So that's the sort of the meeting grounds.
And you said they chose Dan. To me, that's fascinating. Was that something that they were very open about, or is that something that you learned about?
No, well, Dan for sure. Dan had a very easy sort of talk to everybody. Somebody once said his whole life is on his shirt sleeve. Wendy, I don't think, was as pleased to sort of advertise that she had found Dan on J-Date. And it wasn't whether one wanted or one didn't want. It just really, it came out because those were the circumstances that Danny described to all his friends, and there are many, that's how he met Wendy.
But, and I'm wondering about Wendy and her mother were the ones who were making this choice together?
Yes, Wendy and her mother made this choice together, and that becomes a significant part of the long-term story, which, resulted in a lot of family issues and allegedly involvement and so forth. So I think that, I'll say it this way, Princess Diana, I think, had the best words. She said, there were 3 in the marriage from the start. So I think that that's probably gives a very good description of sort of how things transpired.
I want to play just a little bit of Wendy's testimony. And I found this part fascinating because, again, it talks about this relationship. Let's take a listen.
Was there a time during the time that you were living there at Aqua Ridge that you determined that you would like to move to South Florida with the children?
There was.
All right. And were your parents very involved in trying to facilitate that relocation?
My parents were supportive of me moving to South Florida.
Would you describe your parents as being over involved in your personal business?
As compared to other people's parents?
Yeah.
I don't know.
To me, that's a fascinating exchange. So from your perspective, when things went bad and the marriage, you know, sort of disintegrated and it became about where are the children going to be, from your perspective, what was it Wendy's family that really was kind of the catalyst in all of that? And was it Donna? Was it Harvey? Or was it really Wendy that wanted this? Was it clear to you?
I think it was clear that I have to say that after a certain point, Wendy herself was not so content to stay and live in Tallahassee. But I certainly believe that Donna orchestrated a lot of the interest to get her to move out. After the divorce, there was a petition that they had requested from the court in Tallahassee that Wendy and her children could go move with Donna and her family, and Wendy's whole family. And the Judge Dobbs, she threw it out. She said, look, there's two loving parents. You both have jobs at the Florida State University, and there's no reason why I should allow you to split the family when you both love the children. And not only did Judge Hobbs, I should say, do that, she actually said, you will never be able to bring this up again. In other words, there was no appeal of the decision that they couldn't leave Florida without Danny, or in some form that he had to want to agree to it.
Now, the witness list and who is on it in this case, we took a look at it, and Donna's on the witness list, Harvey's on the witness list. What are your thoughts? What would you expect them to say if in fact they're called? They're on the prosecution witness list, or they're also on the defense.
I'm actually one of the people, I don't want to say I'm contrarian in terms of everybody speculating on this issue. I have to say that I'm less involved in the drama, and I'm saying it that way, of Donna and Harvey being on the witness list. Everybody is speculating on all the podcasts and so forth. They were supposed to have a meeting today, 1:30, about their participation or non-participation at the trial, and so on. I haven't heard anything, but all day long people are saying, "Oh, are they still meeting? Why did they pick the afternoon and start then?" My answer to that question is, let's wait and see, because I don't know and I haven't heard anything. And remember too, we're victims, so sometimes, not always, there are occasions when they do consult with us. So all I know is there's dead silence on that issue, and I'm just waiting to hear more because I don't want to get into the whole drama. I think I'm more interested in the motions personally that were passed this week. There was evidence that I think is very, very significant for this particular trial. And I'm really pleased with the fact we were really nervous with a new judge. So it's very heartwarming, at least, to see that things have moved probably in a direction that we're going to the trial with some hope.
Absolutely. The recordings are key. We're going to take a listen to them a little bit later this hour. Ruth Markel, we appreciate you coming on tonight. I know this is going to be a really difficult time, but we appreciate hearing from you, and our best to your family.
Thank you so much, and really, I really appreciate your whole team keeping focus on the Dan Markel murder. Thank you again.
Thank you. Ruth Markel joining us, and she'll be down at the trial when this all begins next week. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that witness list. We're going to bring in some experts on the case who've been looking at it. Plus, coming up next hour.
Major news in the low country of South Carolina. New hope for disgraced attorney and convicted family annihilator Alec Murdaugh, as his case gets sent back to Judge Newman for a hearing regarding alleged jury tampering. Will Murdaugh get a new trial?
We got information about Ms. Hill saying, "Don't be fooled." There's no choice but the courts to grant a new trial.
Trones claimed to be a millionaire, but when his wife realized it was a lie, she ended up dead in her bathroom.
You have fake cried over this woman's death.
Now he stands trial for her brutal murder. The Bathtub Murder Trial, weekday mornings on Court TV.
I've worked hard all my life. I learned the secret to success is speaking in your authentic voice. And I bring that lesson to my show every morning.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
It's the state's theory that there are other people other than those who have been charged, people other than the two folks that are on trial here today that you all are concerned about. And these people also bear responsibility for the murder of Professor Markel. What enemy or enemies had Mr. Markel made that set into motion such a brutal act? The answer, his own family.
In that screen, Katherine McBanoa on the left. She didn't get convicted in this one, but the father of her children, Sigfredo Garcia, one of the hitmen, did. She was subsequently convicted in a retrial, but you heard the prosecutor there talking about a murder for hire, saying someone else is responsible. Well, finally, Charlie Adelson is being brought to trial. Wendy's brother, Dan Markel's former brother-in-law, as the one who ordered this hit. So let's take a look. Again, this trial is set to begin next week. Let's take a look at the witness list. On the state's witness list, who we have not heard from yet at trial, Donna Adelson, Charlie's mother. She's on the state's witness list. What would she say if she testified? Harvey Adelson, Charlie's father, also on the state's witness list. What would he say? How about Sigfredo Garcia, the father of Katherine McBanoa's children, convicted now? He's now convicted. Does he know more? Can he link all of this to Charlie Adelson? Then you've got folks who we have heard from before in the two prior trials on the list. Wendy Adelson. Wendy Adelson, Dan's ex-wife, testified twice already. She's on the list. Katherine McBanoa, she's on the list. She wasn't on the list before, but we've heard from her because she was in the defense chair, getting up on the witness stand and denying involvement in all of this. And then there's Luis Rivera, who was the hitman friend of Sigfredo Garcia, who was the first one to plead guilty and admit what he did and turn state's evidence to avoid the death penalty. Now, so let's take a listen to some of that testimony that we've heard already. Let's begin. We're going to hear from Wendy Adelson, Dan's ex, Katherine McBanoa, Charlie's former girlfriend, and Luis Rivera, the convicted hitman.
Did he mention hiring a hitman to kill your husband?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
No.
Did he ever joke about he looked into hiring a hitman, but buying you a TV as a divorce present would be cheaper?
He did make that joke. He tended to repeat himself, and sometimes he would make jokes that weren't very funny about all kinds of things.
All right, and was that TV, did he buy you a TV as a divorce present?
He did.
Did you have anything to do with the murder of Dan Markel?
No, ma'am.
Did you get the father of your children, Mr. Garcia, to commit a murder on behalf of Mr. Charlie Adelson?
No, ma'am.
To this day, do you think he's guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that he should be prosecuted for his involvement in the murder of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you think he should come forward and let the jury know that you had nothing to do with this?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought we were gonna go rob him.
You thought you were coming to Tallahassee to do a robbery?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you assume that, or did somebody tell you that?
No, I assumed that. I'm like, it was his job.
All right. So you knew it was a job in Tallahassee, and you assumed it was a robbery. Did you learn something additional about what it was on the way to Tallahassee?
Yeah, on the way coming up, I was like halfway there, we just
He said we're gonna have to kill the man. For some
Said
kids.
you were going to have to kill the man?
Yeah,
And what was the second part of what you said?
for some kids.
For some kids. All right. Anything else? What did that mean to you? Kill the man for some kids.
As for a lady, I guess the lady wanted her kids back.
Let me bring in my guests. I've got two great attorneys who know a lot about this case. In McKinney, Texas, prosecutor, defense attorney, creator of the YouTube channel Jury Trial Mentor, Carl Steinbach is back with us. And in Chicago, Illinois, criminal defense attorney, host of the Defense Diaries, Bob Mata, back with us as well. Great to see you both. All right, Carl, let's talk about Donna and Harvey, Charlie's mother and father on the state's witness list, and obviously still under the circle of suspicion. What happens? Are they going to testify? What are they going to say? What would they say?
Well, just because they're on the witness list doesn't mean for sure that the state's going to call them, but I believe there's a great chance that they will be called as witnesses. They're being interviewed today down in Miramar, Florida at the FBI office. The judge this week, in a great victory for the prosecution, ordered both Adelsons to testify. There was a lot of resistance by their one attorney, also out of South Florida, who basically was also talking about doing a stay of the judge's order. But the judge basically said, if they do not cooperate and testify both at the FBI office down there in Miramar and also testify at the trial that's upcoming, that he will essentially have them arrested and brought up to trial in handcuffs. So I think that it remains to be seen how much they'll admit to them being involved in the case. But one of the great things that the prosecution also had going for him this week was that the judge deemed admissible the wiretaps.
Oh, yeah.
The wiretaps had a lot of conversation about him and Donna, Charlie and Donna, talking about what this bump was all about, the bump from this undercover FBI agent that made them all scramble, trying to figure out who's trying to get $5,000 out of us. And Charlie was prepared to have this person killed. He initially asked Katie to do it, and then he also said he would do it himself if need be. So there's a lot of really smoking gun evidence against Charlie and Donna in these wiretap recordings, as well as there's a Dolce Vita tape. That's a former restaurant that was there that they basically went to try to talk about the bump. And Charlie was then telling Katie what she needed to do to make this threat go away. So it was very, very compelling evidence of guilt involving both Charlie and Katie. And so I think with them bringing in the parents, just like they did Wendy, I think it's going to really set the scene for this really close-knit family where they're all about in each other's business. And it's really going to be hard for them to not, admit something that's at least incriminating against Charlie as well. Because keep in mind those nasty emails that Donna sent to Wendy a couple months before Dan was murdered, talking about how he needs to do whatever it takes to get Dan's chain jerk, basically, and threatened to have the kids convert to Catholicism, to dressing up as Hitler Youth. I mean, wow. It was really, really outlandish.
Nasty stuff. Okay, so Bob, let's talk about Katherine McBanowa. This is the big game changer now, because she testified twice already in court that we just heard it, that she had nothing to do with this, and now she's on the state's witness list. We have a picture here of Katie with Wendy, by the way. I think we have a beach shot of those two together. What do you expect Katherine McBanowa to testify to if, in fact, she gets called?
It depends. I mean, if she made a deal after conviction and she's turned state's evidence and she's got information, I mean, she may spill her guts, because I was concerned with what she'd be able to say if, in fact, she's appealing her conviction, because typically you can't plead the fifth if you've been convicted and you're not appealing it. Like, she wouldn't be able to go up there and say, I'm going to take the fifth on this thing. But if she's got an appeal or is going to appeal her case, her conviction, she could go on the stand and take the fifth. But what it sounds like is that she's turned state's evidence.
Well, let me ask you this, Bob. Why should anyone believe her now? Now, I believe she's involved in all of this, but twice she's come inside that courtroom in that courthouse, put up her right hand, sworn to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and told 2 different juries that she had nothing to do with this. And now she's going to tell us that she's in the middle of it?
Well, Vinny, how many defendants have you seen that have ever testified in court just break down and admit to being the culprit? I mean, that doesn't happen. I mean, every defendant that's going to testify in their own trial is going to lie. So, I mean, you're going to have to ask the jury to use their common sense. I mean, this is an incredible story. I mean, when you look at everything that has gone on with this case and, you know, just the tangled web of what it is, you know, and you start to put the pieces together and you're looking for who the connections are with one another, she is a main cog. And you know,
she's in the middle of all
existence,
of it. She's in the middle of all of it.
Absolutely.
She connects Sigfredo to Charlie, which then connects to Wendy. This is the only reason. I mean, Carl, no juror, I don't think, is going to go inside that courtroom and not believe this was a murder for hire, right? You've got the guy who was hired to do the murder admitting to it. Sigfredo is also on the witness list now as well. So I'm wondering if he would be able to make any sort of direct connection to Charlie. What do you think?
Yes, that we don't know the amount of information he has against Charlie. I think he would be able to testify that and corroborate with what Katie I would expect to testify to, which is the fact that all the money they got was stapled, and that was one of the trademark things that Charlie Adelson did. He dealt with a lot of cash. He talked about a lot of the criminal activity he did when he's not working as a dentist. And one of the things he was known for was stapling his cash a certain way. And that's the way they would have all received that cash. We've already heard some testimony from that from his another former girlfriend named June Umchida. So she was able to also testify to that in the previous trial. So I think that they have really some of this earmark type signature evidence against Charlie that can be corroborated. I don't think there was that much other direct evidence between the two of them. I think they knew each other, knew of each other, but there wasn't that much direct evidence per se. And so,
well, they had one thing in common. They definitely had one thing in common, and that was Katherine McBanoa. They both had spent some quality time with her. Stay where you are, guys, because when we come back, Carl mentioned it. These recordings, so crucial, so vital, and now we know for sure the jury's going to hear them. You're going to hear them next.
David Trones claimed to be a millionaire, but when his wife realized it was a lie, she ended up dead in her bathroom.
You have fake cried over this woman's death.
Now he stands trial for her brutal murder. The Bathtub Murder Trial, weekday mornings on Court TV.
I've worked hard all my life. I learned the secret to success is speaking in your authentic voice. And I bring that lesson to my show every morning.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant, weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Do you want to relive the biggest moments from our captivating trials? Stay up to date on all the breaking legal and true crime news? Well, Court TV's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channel have exactly what you're looking for. So come join the conversation with us at Court TV. We are your front row seat to justice.
If a badge comes up to you, tell them have a nice day, officer. If they want to charge you with something, charge me. If not, I don't talk to cops.
The piece of evidence was something that I did think was important, and I've always felt like if we could just get that clarified, that would make a big difference potentially in the case. So I was really happy to have that piece of evidence to present to the grand jury.
These recordings, so valuable to the prosecution and really a game changer in the case against Charlie Adelson. And it all started with the bump. This is a video where an undercover sort of bumps into Donna, right? Bumps into Donna and has this really bizarre conversation because at this point, Luis Rivera has in fact been arrested and charged. So they're trying to stir things up with the Adelsons to get them to start talking so they can secretly record them talking. And again, the instigation all begins with this video with this undercover FBI agent. Take a look.
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. No, don't be scared. Listen, just want to let you know that we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Hugo for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuzo. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
She took the piece of paper, put it in her purse, right? How do you respond to that? I think they know that there were people looking at them, but still. Let's bring back our guest, Carl Steinbeck, Bob Mata with us. Bob, what do you think of the bump and Donna's reaction, and what does it tell any of us about Donna?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'm thinking when I'm watching that is what must be going through her head when this guy is saying that stuff to her. You know, it's like if she's complicit, she's freaking out internally. You know, she handled it like a champ, I have to say. You know, I mean, that's the response you'd expect. You know, I have no idea what you're talking about. However, give me that piece of paper so I can figure out what you actually might know. And like you said, Vinny, I mean, she ends up putting it in her purse, so she didn't ball it up and toss it behind her, which I think speaks a little bit to maybe some complicity. You know, it's one of those moments in time, like as an individual, where, you know, if she has any involvement, you know, they're thinking about this constantly. You know,
and if you're innocent,
if you're
innocent and a family member has been murdered, wouldn't you be a little scared like that? Oh my God, who's this? Maybe we're going to be, you know, we're going to be targets of something now. What is going on here? And go straight to police,
100%.
Right?
100%.
Right. So let's take a listen now to the secret recordings that Carl was talking about. This is Charlie Adelson with Katherine McBanawa at Dolce Vita, and Charlie and his father Harvey at Matsuri. Let's watch.
I wish it was cop playing games. Why did it know it was a cop playing games or an investigator playing games, and they didn't mention me. After some girlfriend meeting, not mention me at all. My family. And I think if they thought I had something to do with it, they would find me and they'd talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, go talk to the person who's involved, not you are involved. And I'm not involved.
All right, Carl, what do these secret recordings prove? What do you think the jury is going to take away from them?
Well, I think it shows the fact that they have not only just Charlie being the leader of the operational plan, but it really looks like Harvey was definitely involved as well. he's freely talking to his dad about what went on. And also the conversation he had with Katie. I think Katie was so openly in the conversation, he gave her enough details of what was going on, the way Charlie's freely talking with her. I think she has enough details that she could be used as a prosecution, as a witness, to describe details that only she would know, being a part of the intimate planning details of the murder. And so despite her lying for several days on the witness stand, a lot of it also, keep in mind, was, I don't know, I don't remember, can you show me what you're talking about? Just basically plain stupid. So it was so obvious that she was lying. And so I think that she basically comes clean, is straightforward, tells the truth, explain why she lied, explain how she was able to afford 3 attorneys, not just 1 or 2 but 3 attorneys, mind you. Then also keep in mind, even on your clip here, Vinny, earlier on this segment, did you notice that Katie's attorney was objecting to damaging information coming out against Charlie? She also did that numerous times against Donna as well. So it was a really bizarre dynamics to see that happen.
Bob, I'll give you the final word here as we get ready for this trial to begin. Do you think the prosecution has the goods finally? We have about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I do. I think that the omission of those particular last recordings at the restaurant are exactly what they needed. Because anytime you're talking about a murder for hire type thing, you need that connective tissue, which is what they were lacking with respect to Charlie and or Wendy. You know, so as desperately as we all kind of know that Wendy is really the beneficiary of all this, so it's hard for me to believe that she's not involved. They simply just don't have this type of connective tissue evidence against her at this point to bring her in, but they do have it against Charlie. I think that they have enough, and I think that with the rest of the story, when the state fleshes it out, I think he's going down.
Bob Mott and Carl Steinbeck, appreciate your insight tonight. Thank you both so much.